Welcome everyone. Hopefully you can hear me. There will be a sort of a test. You can type on the chat, everything is all right. You can hear me very well. My name is Michelangelo, Agile Evangelist Organizer. Before we start with Piotr, I just want to tell you a couple of things, just a few things about this webinar. It's the first webinar of a series of events that we are about to announce on Agile Evangelist website and meetup in London. We just opened another meetup group in Switzerland, and we are very proud of this, thanks to Paolo Serra. And other few things we need to say, thank you to our major sponsor, that is Herzum, a company based in the United States with different subsidiary companies and an headquarters in London, in Italy, Switzerland, and India as well. He's an Atlassian Platinum partner, so if you need anything in terms of Atlassian licenses, just drop us an email, give us a shout, or contact directly herzum.com. A very special thank you to other meetup organizer, and they are a partner with us and helped us to spread the words all around. In London, we have Corrado De Santis. It's the organizer of digital transformation and Lean Agile delivery. A special thank you. In Italy, we have another community hosted by Massimo Sarti, is Agile Talks. Great thank you to him. And of course, Paolo Serra with Agile Evangelist Switzerland. On the other side, a special guest is Piotr. Welcome, Piotr. How are you?
Hi, Michelangelo. I'm very good, thank you.
I met Piotr last year. We were working with a large organizations, and Piotr was working for McKinsey. Am I right? We spent so much time together, and we had the opportunity to talk about the future. And surprise, he found a new company now that is named Resonate. Probably you can just tell the purpose of this company, what you are doing now.
Yeah, sure. So hi everyone. My name is Piotr, English Peter. I'm Agile Coach and Transformation Leader. Currently, as Michelangelo mentioned, I'm a founder and partner at something that I call Resonate. And at Resonate, we believe that new ways of working, Agile, Teal, all this new stuff, will simply give people their lives back. It will redefine workplace. And hopefully it will also have a contribution to saving the planet. So what we do, we lead corporations to really reinvent themselves in purposeful service to societies.
That's very great. So without any further ado, the floor is yours.
Okay. Thank you, Michelangelo. It's my honor to be here, to speak here. I hope you'll enjoy this evening. I'm here to share my current thinking on agility and beyond, and the current condition of agility, and actually what's to come next. I'll introduce today the topic of the evolution of workplace, and the questions we'll be asking today are how the workplace evolved historically within recent decades, and what is there to come in the future. And as the popular quotation says, the future is already here. It's just unevenly distributed. So it's worth really looking forward to see and understand the latest thinking. So the agenda, hopefully I will not kill you with too many slides. The presentation is quite old school, I must say. Sorry for this. The agenda is for today the three aspects, kind of three milestones we're going to go through. The first one is historical perspective, then I'll talk a bit about the current state and what the things I'm not satisfied with at the moment. And then I'll draw an aspirational future, and this will be like an interesting mental exercise, hopefully for you, because what I really want to do is to invite each one of you to into this discussion how we should shape the future, right? So the best way to understand the future, as they say, is to really invent it yourself. So that's the plan for today. And I would like to start with a quick question, really. First exercise, straight away. Because I need to gather your perspectives and like warm you up a bit for this topic. So the questions really, I would like to just spend a minute on answering the question, which are displayed now on the screen. Just put your answers in the chat window, and I'll pick up within 30 seconds on 1 minute, depending on what's going on in the chat window. So the questions are: how would you compare the Agile a decade ago and at present, and what has changed systemically? Because 10 years is enough for systemic change, I believe. And the second question is your personal opinion on the direction in which it evolves, and how close it is to your initial expectations back then in 2000, early 2000s or 2010s. So I switched to chat window now to read your responses. Yes, I like the comments already. Thank you, Oti. Massimiliano, thank you. Fantastic. Yes, the meaningful culture change. Yes, I fully agree. Yes, jumping into the Agile train without understanding. Correct. There is a lot of more we need to achieve for Agile mindset. Correct. Fully agree. Thank you, Zach. Awesome. Okay, I think it needs to be enough for the warm up. Thank you very much, guys. It's a huge topic. We could spend like a week here discussing it, but this is just to, as I said, to warm you up. All right. In my case, it took me quite some time to really nail down the most critical pieces that have changed systemically in the last decade, and probably took me even longer to understand the direction and what's going to happen in the future. But interestingly, I found a very nice first milestone as a starting point for my journey, and the milestone is this thing that I'm going to share on the next slide now. Thank you again, guys, for your responses. So for me personally, the starting point was the perspective that David Hassman introduced in early 2010s. I met him at Agile conferences back then, and he was talking then about the necessary switch from the fascination of method to product thinking. As you can see, the David's evolution model is pretty simple, right? It starts from the projectized view of the world that dominated 20th century. And of course, it focused on internal measures of success and phased governance. And then we spent almost 2 decades going through the initial fascination of alternative methods of delivering value, right? And I remember that those days were like a big boom when people realized waterfall is not the only way to deliver software anymore, right? And it is then that the world, or shall I say, the business world, has rediscovered short iterations. And back then, in early 2010s, David has started shifting the dominating perspective of the method to the perspective of customer and products. And of course, now the product thinking is product perspective, customer perspective is the dominating perspective. And now we are at the dawn of 2020s, and we keep learning at the accelerated pace. And there is plentiful of new experience coming from the field. So I think we have enough of signs that the world has evolved again since David's work. And in some cases, in some sense, I feel responsible for David's legacy and believe that we all need to take his work further in 2020s. It's just, it was simple, elegant, and very valuable for our community. So I draw this map of evolution and to show you what new phenomena we observe. And first, let me spend some time on introducing quickly the format of this chart. This chart has a format of a Wardley map. I'm sure some of you already know Wardley maps. If not, I highly recommend you familiarize yourself with the whole work of Simon Wardley. So the Wardley map has 2 dimensions. As you can see, the horizontal dimension is all about evolution, how ideas, concepts, and products, how they evolve from the genesis to commodity. And the vertical dimension is the value chain. So an item higher in the value chain makes use of the items below it to create new type of value. So if you look at the chart, the upper left-hand side corner of the map represents the latest and greatest items with highest potential for pioneers to exploit. And so as I said, it all started with projectized view of the world. Then we jumped into methods. So when it comes to agility, at least in my experience, it was mostly about agile delivery, right? So short iterations, delivering increments of product, and the focus one was on the method. Then of course, what we can observe is the emergence of the collaborative cultures. Every company or every enterprise, when they really think about Agile seriously, they think deeply about the culture shift. From model culture they have towards a collaborative culture. They understand the power of teams and people collaborating freely without any intervention from outside the team. And what I also mean by the collaborative culture is the changes that need to happen on the leadership level. Of course, there is several leadership, and there's a peer-to-peer situational leadership. Then I also mean the teamwork and, of course, the new role of ego in organizations. So ego is, there's this saying that people should put their egos on the shelf and forget about it. Just start contributing to the bigger entity of their team. And of course, it is all connected to HR 3.0, which is the latest, greatest thinking on career development and career progression, and how the career progression should be reflected in the existing hierarchical organizational structures. Then, of course, there is the product dimension, and as I said, this switch to this from the method to product happened, I would say, in the second half of 2010s. Product management, product ecosystems, understanding the product market fit, of course, customer centricity, user experience, and all these good stuff that helps us understand where the value is for the customers. But most recently, there is also a new phenomenon we observe, which I call business agility. And this builds on product management and customer centricity, but it takes it a level higher, from the level of product strategy to the level of business strategy. And we can see big pioneer companies like Amazon, for instance, behaving in a very disruptive ways when it comes to their approach to business strategies. So if you think about the Amazon example, by the way, I highly recommend the book Think Like Amazon. I think this is going to be the most popular book in 2020 for Agile community, because it's all about business agility. So to give you a couple of examples, Amazon took customer centricity to a completely new level. They call it customer obsession. Me personally, I was contacted by a couple of times by engineers from Amazon, just asking about my experience and when buying something on Amazon. And they also keep redefining the operational excellence. But I would say, from my perspective, the most interesting thing they do is they exploited the idea of expanding their existing value chain by attacking businesses in the adjacent links in the value chain. So, I don't know, for instance, the introduction of their own payment method, or the leveraging Uber approach to parcel distribution. This is all expansion in the value chain, and this is really threatening businesses in the adjacent business links. So I would say it's fantastic times to see business agility being the central item on this chart, because on its own it's a very good place to be in for businesses. And I think this is actually the essence of what Agile wanted to say, that agility is the ability of a company to deal with opportunities and obstacles in pursuit of delivering value to customers. So it's not about, when you think about it, it's not about how we do projects, it's not about how we deliver in agile manner. It's actually about business agility, the ability to follow the trends and to be pioneer and always ahead of your competition. And yeah, so I think this more or less describes also your understanding I'd love to hear back from you what's missing and what's incorrect. I probably should open source this diagram for people to be able to contribute. And now I'd like to switch to a bit more of the discussing the current state, current reality. I would like to take a wider perspective for a moment on what's going on and have some reflection, because, as I said, this is a very nice date. 10 years has passed, and I think it's a good moment. It's a good moment to reflect on what happened. So, first of all, I wanted to share my experience. So, when it comes to the condition of agility, from my perspective, I must say it really struggles. Agile adoption struggles. As one of my friends said, the initial spontaneous times of agility back from 20 years ago, these days are gone. Right? The management in many places has learned how to utilize agility to serve their purpose without a need for a deeper change in their management style and in their management practices, which is quite dangerous observation, right? And of course, I believe most of you have some second thoughts on what stops agility from being fully adopted in the long term, and first of all in a sustainable manner. And myself, I saw many transformations that were just scratching the surface. They were being implemented mechanically, following the template, of course, the Spotify model, and so on, but just really cloning the best practice from some template. And then after some time, at such clients, it was becoming obvious that Agile has little chance to stick and stay there for longer. And the clients were saying they couldn't realize the value added by transformations. So I thought, okay, what are the invisible forces that really cause us issues with adoption? And now, as you can see, I can say there are two factors influencing transformations. First, of course, is the implementation faults, and the second one is residual obstacles. So I'm going to focus on the residual obstacles here, as the topic of implementation faults is a separate topic. It's really a big one, and it deserves a separate discussion. And it's, of course, definitely more popular and has been at least partially covered by many discussions in many communities. So when it comes to residual issues, first, I realized that Agile transformations try to achieve orange goals. Right? Orange in terms of Frederick Laloh's evolution of organizations. Apparently, as you can see, most of enterprises currently are still orange organizations. So yes, it is possible to achieve orange goals like increased profitability or financial aspects using means that are available on more mature levels of the evolution. So using Agile to achieve orange goals, it is possible, but it's quite weird, right? It doesn't move the organization any closer to becoming Agile organization. It's just exploiting agility, being orange organization, just makes you achieve the orange goals, but it doesn't mean any evolution really. So that's the first thing that I saw many times. And second thing is a big one. As you can see, I realized that we cannot go much farther into the evolution of workplace until we reformulate the purpose of business. I'll talk about it a bit more on the next slides. But in many cases, it is the current purpose of business and economy that itself is the residual obstacle to agile adoption, agile transformations. And this is exactly why the leadership teams are dichotomic, right? They are scared to welcome agility more openly because simply the CEOs and the board level, these people are trapped by their obligation they have to deliver return of investment to shareholders. And it needs to be very well planned, and it kills the space for creativeness and innovation and agility. And and I think that this is fair enough, good enough reason for the top teams to constitute a major concern, how to switch to agility with all these duties we have against the shareholders. So when it comes to implementation faults, of course, we can improve and optimize. This improving in this field is just a question of optimization. But when it comes to the residual obstacles, I believe that the deeper change is necessary to help Agile stay for longer. And I talked quite a lot now. Again, I would like to ask you briefly for a next exercise. So now, based on the historical developments that we've seen and the current condition of agility, I would like to ask you what, in your opinion, is the direction for Agile for the next decade. Again, we are looking for some systemic change to agility. So please use the chat window again to share your thoughts.
Well, in the meantime, there is there are some questions in the chat, Piotr. Maybe you can have a look at that questions. I think a lot of people already shared interesting information in the chat.
Okay, I now have time to go through the chart. So the question about orange goals, and I see the answers. Thank you guys. This is all about reinventing organizations, indeed. Wow, there is lots of nice discussion. I'm not. Thank you guys for doing this in the chat. I probably will not comment anymore on this. It's living its own life now. Fantastic. This is the purpose. This is my purpose. Exactly the purpose of this speech. Very good comments indeed. All right. I think I think I don't have any other choice to just read it but still come back to my slides. That we'll have some time at the end of the end of my presentation for wider discussion. Is this fine, Michelangelo?
I think so. Well, it's absolutely fine. Just carry on, and then at the end you can answer all questions and then
Okay, perfect.
Go through.
Thank you guys for your contribution. Okay, so just sharing my understanding of the current situation is that I believe that looking at the current state, I believe that in next thing to happen is that the changes will arise from two sources. So the first one is, of course, the commoditization of what we already know, what we already discovered. I hope that business agility will be commoditized to a great extent. And of course, product management, product thinking, and customer centricity. This is all about the Kano model, things getting commoditized with time. And this is natural part of natural evolution. Right? But there is also another factor which I believe is underestimated, although there is lots of discussion about it, is the unsustainability of that we actually have been producing as a side effect, unwanted side effect to the economy or human civilization, if you like. So for the commoditization aspect, this is clear enough. This is just part of natural evolution, as I said. But for the unsustainability, well, I think it originates from the very fact that our human civilization has its impact both on us as human and on the planet and the ecosystem we live in. The human civilization, whether we wanted it or not, it simply resulted in a huge amount of the technical debt. Effects that nobody wants here, nobody wants to produce, but we have been producing them for centuries since the Industrial Revolution. And the unsustainability is gaining more and more attention because it hits us in daily life, right? The climate change and all these things. So for me, this will become the second major source of the change in next years, and a significant trigger for change in 2020s. And let's dive a bit into this one. What do I mean by the technical debt? So on one hand, I mean everything associated with our impact to the planet, like, as I said, climate change, but also massive extinction of species. And of course, it's not linear process. It's faster than linear. And of course, I mean here the end of natural resources and even growth of human population. Right? On the other hand, I mean everything associated with the unbalanced human integrity. Right? Especially when you work with enterprise-size organizations, right? There's lots of wasted people's potential and lots of disintegration between life and work, and there is also human integrity also suffers from the materialistic reductionism. It's all about earning money and spending your time, sacrificing your time to earn money, and of course economic disproportions, I recently, even today, I read that the latest calculations show that half of all of the wealth is in the hands of 8 people. So, and of course, like, so the aggregation of capital, and I don't believe this was expected when people came up to the idea of capitalism and Adam Smith said that capitalism is all about responsible multiplication of wealth in societies. We are far from this idealistic state of Adam Smith. So there are all these manifestations of the unbalanced sustainability issues, and they have existed and have been developing invisibly so far, right? Like in 1990s, people were completely relaxed about it, right? So I call these two groups technical debt because in my head, with my background, it's exactly connotation with the software development, right? We achieve some business value, but we also produce technical debt. And the key here is to balance between achieving more business value while handling the technical debt and keeping it under control. And of course, perhaps there are more dimensions of technical debt, but these two are enough for the purpose of this discussion. All right. And of course, there's plenty of work in both areas on the level of societies, on the level of governments, and various global non-government organizations. And as you can see on the left-hand side, the United Nations have their own program. They call it the Sustainable Development Goals. I'm sure you heard about it. It's a fantastic initiative. It's really one of my favorites these days. But also, of course, there's lots of people involved in the sustainability of the global ecosystem. Many very well known and recognized leaders. For instance, for me personally, seeing Peter Senji involved and doing it for a few recent years, it's significant. It's significant involvement, and he's been doing exactly work on the sustainability. So for me personally, it means this is the most critical topic globally. So he's been applying really systems thinking to sustainability topics. This is a very interesting idea to take systems thinking and apply it to sustainability. This I strongly recommend watching at least his YouTube presentations. On the right-hand side, you can see the sources of inspiration I used when I was thinking about the topic of human integrity. This is the book, by the way, Reinventing Organizations. And the second author I really recommend is Professor Don Beck, and it's his Spiral Dynamics is absolutely something that I recommend spending some time. Even it's not a smooth read; it's difficult read. So as you can see, this is my understanding of where we are, and coming back to our chart and the Wardley map of where are we in the evolution of the workspace is exactly this one. So we have business agility, but then the drivers for change are commoditization and unsustainability. Right. the question is how much more technical debt we can produce and how much more before changing anything. And it's probably getting to this thin line that we cannot cross. And the question really is why? Why is it happening? Why are we producing something nobody wants, right? Everybody wants business agility and prosperity or well-being, but on the other hand, we are producing serious levels of technical debt. So something apparently is missing from this picture, and something is invisible. And I started wondering, what is it? And for me, the answer is that there is something wrong with our learning process. So maybe not wrong with our learning process, but we are too optimistically sticking to the single loop learning, which means that we are trapped in the current dominating perspective, and we are too busy and too disconnected maybe from our work to pause for a while and reflect on a deeper level and act together to change, to take into account the level of technical debt we are producing. And of course, this is happening because our behavior is driven by underlying mental model and by the decision-making rules. So we run projects, or we collaborate in agile manner, or we optimize products, and even we glorify business agility. But there's something wrong with the method we collect feedback, right? Because at the end of a learning cycle, we focus on understanding how much product or how much business agility we achieved, but it doesn't mention the technical debt, right? I never participated in a meeting saying, taking into account the technical debt in terms of disintegration, human disintegration, or sustainability of the planet. Never a topic, right? So it turns out that we do more of the same, and hoping that the technical debt will somehow magically disappear. And just because we don't want it to be here, it will not disappear. We need to do something about it, right? So so that brought me to another very interesting model. This is actually coming from the book of Don Beck I mentioned earlier. How we actually understand where our behaviors originate from, right? So, as you can see here, this model says that our behaviors originate from life conditions, not directly, but indirectly. So first, we build our value systems, which are based on life conditions, and then we behave, we make our choices that we believe keep us closest to the value, to our value systems. So now, the current situation we are in, with the existence of the unbalanced processes of the ecosystem sustainability, shows that life conditions shifted significantly, right? Clearly, they shifted significantly, but still, for some reason, we keep behaving in the unchanged way. So, because we simply have not updated our value systems. And so, given the circumstances, we behave irrationally, because if we keep behaving this way, then the technical debt will slip from under our control. I know some people who say it's already too late to control the technical debt. But let's keep it aside for the moment. So the question is really, if we want to tackle the technical debt, so the question really is what it takes to change our value systems, right? And as a result, to change our internal irrational behavior, and so that they reflect the changed current life conditions. It's probably getting very deeply into the content. Just wanted to say, bear with me. We're gonna have another break for exercise shortly. So what I found digging deeper is there is something which is called double loop learning, and double loop learning is the learning deepened in the language of learning cycle. In the double loop learning, we not only need to collect feedback and make new decisions according to the feedback, but also we should use our chance to rebuild at a deeper level. We need to rebuild our mental models, right? And our decision-making rules in order to change our behaviors, right? So there is this existing unconscious assumptions that the mental model is fixed, which is not true. We have influence on our mental model, but it's not so obvious to change it, right? Especially in business environments, right? So mankind has always been adapting to changing reality. Of course, the evolution has been a long process till now. We used the double loop learning many times. I just have a special feeling that this time it looks pretty serious challenge that we are tackling with, as we need to rebuild our mental model at the very core, and we have very limited time. I don't think we were in such a pressure historically any time before. All right, so this was the description of the current state. We know now the historical perspective, and we have insights into the current state. And this is where the funny part begins. I would like you to become really a designers of the future now. I would like to decouple our thinking, or detach ourselves from the current mental model, and then we will try to swap the current mental model with another one. Just an example one, and we will see how the evolution of the ways of working can look like in some other frame. Okay, and the beauty of looking from the level of mental model is that you gain the freedom to redefine the mental model. The key here is not to try to predict anything specific beyond Agile, at least not at this point in time, right? But at this point in time, my intention is to invite you all into a creative process, into a brainstorming exercise, if you like, and see how it would work if we redefine the mental model. Okay, you ready? I hope you're ready. Let me just check the time. 7:45. We are 7 slides left, guys. 7 slides left. So bear with me. I think this is one too far. So exercise 3, let's start with the mental model, the current mental model. So there's another exercise I would like to invite you to, which is about your personal reflection and your attempt to characterize the current mental model. What are the characteristics of the current mental model? What are the cardinal assumptions? Let's spend a minute on this. I'll read the chat window. I more and more like the discussion. You never change the things by fighting against the existing reality. To change something, build a new model that makes the old model obsolete. Fantastic. And there is a concept of triple loop learning. All right. I have a feeling I would easily learn something from you guys. Maybe we should think about a way to organize a call rather than just my presentation. Okay, and when it comes to your ideas, yes, there is idea of mental model which is maximizing shareholder returns. Agree, fully agree, Raj. Thank you. Competitive in nature, patriarchic, mainly male and white. Historically, also agree. Yeah, all good. Fantastic. Thank you, guys. If you don't mind, I'll contact you and afterwards, and maybe we come up with some form of continuation of this discussion. Fantastic. Really, thank you. Right, so as you saw probably for a second before, in my case, the existing mental model is the purpose of business is profit, or maybe not directly profit, but it's financial. It's just defined in the financial dimension, right? It may be increase of value, but in general, it's still financial value. So I call it, to keep things clear, I keep naming it profits. And of course, it's based on some assumptions. Like, first of all, that humankind is the greatest achievement of evolution. Yeah, many religions say we are created by God, or Homo sapiens owns the planet. Of course, animals cannot protest against what we do to the planet. And of course, the assumptions is, at least historically has been, it's changing now, fortunately, that we can carelessly exploit the natural resource, and including the time of employees, right? This is also like a resource that you cannot buy the time. And this everything is done in the name of return of invested capital. And of course, as you said in the chat, competition is the mechanism to exploit the market inequalities. Fully agreed. I think you spotted it fantastically. Thank you, guys. So I was not very creative, but I'm really pleased to meet people who think similarly. It's still not that common. Thank you for this. Okay, so the question is now how we could envisage the next the mental model for the next decade, and I came up with this model, mental model for purpose of business. And before I jump into this, I would like to say that, as I said 10 minutes earlier, I'm not personally bound to this model. What I need to do and what I want to do here is to encourage you to start building models based on different values than profit and with different assumptions, and see what happens to the chart, because that's really interesting. When we apply the hypothetical mental model to the chart and see what happens, what new entities will arise in the Wardley map, evolution map, right? So this is treated as an example, really. So first of all, I believe that new purpose of business can be harmony, right? I think this planet and most of us would benefit from harmonious lives. By the way, not only I believe harmony is good starting point, but also I'm really pleased that accidentally harmony is far, far away from the economic world, right? Which demonstrates even better my point that financial aspects can be just a side effect, if at all existing, of any mental model for the new purpose of business. And sorry. And so when I think about corporate world, it can contribute to achieving harmony in three ways. First of all, by being in service to develop individuals rather than exploiting their skills as it is now. By being in service to societies, not in service of shareholders. And being guardians for sustainability of the global ecosystem, rather than exploiting natural and human resource as it is now. Right? And there is one thing more changing, which is competition. Right? Competition is replaced by collaboration as the mechanism to approach solving shared evolutionary goals. Right? And so I believe if we reframe the purpose of business in this way, it will not only make the world a better place, but at the same time, there will be lots of value still in doing business. Lots of value to societies and lots of value to individuals. And I'm pretty sure that this new framing will remove the technical debt, which was my point, which was my goal. Right? I'm looking for a new mental model that is capable of removing the technical debt. Okay, now back to the chart, to our evolution map. And how does it change? If you imagine that we apply this new mental model of harmony, then I can easily say that there is new entity. There's new entity which is even higher in the value chain than business agility, which is corporates are good citizens of the world. And this is fantastic. Like, this is all I wanted. It doesn't mean they cannot do business anymore. It just means the sense of business can be different from what it is now. And the next question is, so what is new type of good citizens, corporates what is it that they will flourish on? What components there will be below them, and how to fill the 2020s column in this chart with set of enablers. And I believe many people should be asking themselves these questions. And as I said again, let's continue this discussion. So I came up again personally. This brought me to the map of evolution that is currently, I found, closest to my heart and reason. And I filled the column with the concepts that are mostly brought by teal level of evolution of corporates, which is again the Frederick Laloux book, and it's just 2 steps more mature system than the currently dominating orange. So what did I fill in the column with? First of all, I love the idea of the metaphor of a living system. Instead of thinking in terms of central brain, etc., we think about really connectedness, deeply established in the global ecosystem between humankind and the planet. And of course, good citizens of the world need to have evolutionary purpose. It's not just making money, not return of investment for shareholders, but really evolutionary purpose. And we can think even in terms of very specific consequence of teal, which is self-management. One of the teal breakthroughs is self-management, which is not only delegating the question how as it is in Agile world, and keeping the question what at the senior leadership level. Self-management is about delegating both aspects, the question what we should be focusing on and how to reach our goals. And of course, corporates as good citizens of the world will have significant impact on the life-work integrity. I believe they should be able to restore life-work integrity. And as a result, no surprise here, this new entity, it will lead to business supporting the fulfillment of individuals that will be in service of societies and acting as guardian of sustainability of the global ecosystem. So this is actually interesting. What you get, the outcome on the top right-hand side corner is actually, for me, a natural consequence what mental model you use for this whole chart. Right? So with this image and the foregoing introduction to the context of the workplace evolution, I'm leaving you, I hope, in the good frame for the future, for experimenting on your own with the existing mental model and how we could change it. I would really please to continue this discussion, and I will also be very pleased if we started discussing this openly, even if it seems really undoable in some work environments at the moment, right? Imagine you enter the quarterly planning and say, hey, one of our key KPIs or OKRs, which are dominating these days, should be sustainability, right? Nobody would understand you. Like, you need to have a figure. You need to have percentage growth or something like that for OKRs these days. Which again takes us back to the technical debt questions. So, and that's it. Thank you very much, guys. Hopefully now I'll have time to read more of the chat and answer a couple of questions if you still are there. And so I pass it back to you, Michelangelo, I guess.
Oh, thank you very much, Piotr. That was very interesting. Of course, if you want to be in touch with Piotr, you can drop directly a message to him or all the references on the slides. I will be happy to share links and email on Agile Evangelist website. Thank you very much, guys, for attending this webinar. Thank you again, Piotr. There will be more webinars pretty soon. If you have any idea that you want to run by us, feel free to give me a shout on Agile Evangelist, and I will be happy to take it in consideration. I wish you a pleasant evening, and thank you very much, Piotr. See you next time, guys.